It seems that at long last there might be some light at the end of the tunnel in terms of the US government shutdown, which at 36 days is now the longest shutdown on record. Recent reporting, firstly via Punchbowl yesterday and then backed up by the Washington Post today, suggests that the contours of a potential deal to reopen the government are starting to take shape. This deal is reportedly going to centre around a number of clean bills to reopen certain federal agencies, plus a short-term funding extension for the federal government at large, which a number of Democrat senators may be prepared to back on the proviso that there is an agreed date set for a vote on the extension of the Obamacare subsidies, which actually triggered this whole shutdown in the first place. Now, while this is of course positive, and it is really the first light that we've seen at the end of the tunnel since the shutdown began, I do think we need to take this with a little bit of a pinch of salt. Things are still clearly very, very fragile indeed, and by no means is the situation resolved. However, it does appear that at long last, some degree of progress, however small, may be finally starting to be made. Now, of course, the shutdown hasn't really had too much of an impact on financial markets, but one thing it has led to is a real lack of any economic data, or certainly on an official level. The only data we've had out of the States over the last 6 weeks or so is the September US CPI numbers. Now, even if the shutdown is resolved today, which, let me be clear, isn't going to happen, I would expect it drags into next week at the very, very earliest. That does not mean that we're suddenly going to get all of the data that we've missed over the last month or so. In terms of the jobs report, we have, of course, missed the October report. That is due out on Friday. The data has not been collected. So they will have to go back and survey people and ask them what they were doing this time last month, which, of course, raises some data quality concerns. And with next week being the reference week for the November report, you could have a similar issue then. We've also got problems in terms of CPI and by extension, the PCE data that the Fed prefer to look at, because that data is collected throughout the entire month. So there is a very, very real possibility that the BLS decide they cannot produce an October inflation report as the agency was shut down. And there's also a chance that they might not produce data in November either. So although the government shutdown may be coming to an end, or at least inching towards a potential deal to reopen the federal government, this data vacuum that we've been in for quite some time now looks set to persist for, frankly, many months ahead.